Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture for the course Applied Thermodynamics. We will continue today with the steam turbines, and in that we'll see today velocity diagram and numericals on it. Myself Sumit Bardia, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Sharad Institute of Technology, College of Engineering, Etra. Today we will see the following points like difference between impulse and reaction turbine, impulse turbine, its velocity diagram, work done on the blade velocity coefficient, advantages and disadvantages of velocity compounded impulse turbine, and we'll see numericals on it. First of all, the difference between impulse and reaction turbines. So here the table listed the difference points with respect to its particulars such as pressure drop, area of blade channels, blades, admission of steam, nozzles, fixed blades, power, space, efficiency, suitability, blade manufacture. So pressure drop in impulse turbine, pressure drop is only in the nozzles, not in the moving blades. So pressure drop occurs only in nozzles in the impulse turbine. In the reaction turbine, the fixed blades, that's nozzle, as well as in moving blades, in both the cases the pressure drop occurs. Next particular is area of blade channels. So area of blade channels is constant in the case of impulse turbine, and it is varying or converging type in the reaction turbines. Blades in impulse turbine, blades are of profile type shape, and in reaction turbine it is of aerofoil type. So shapes are different here. Admission of steam in impulse turbine, not all round or complete is there. All round or complete in case of reaction turbine. Nozzles or fixed blades, diaphragm contains the nozzle. So in case of impulse turbine, diaphragms contains the nozzle, but in case of reaction turbine, fixed blades similar to moving blades attached to the casing serve as nozzles and guide the steam. So here no need of diaphragm here. So itself fixed end is attached to the casing also. Next particular is power. So in impulse turbine there is a limitation of power to be developed, so not much power can be developed. In reaction turbines we have the larger capacity, we can produce large power, much power can be developed in the reaction turbine. Space in impulse turbine requires less space for the same power. In reaction turbine it requires more space for the same power capacity. As we consider the efficiency, impulse turbine having the lower efficiency, and in reaction turbine the efficiency is higher. Suitability, of course, as impulse turbine is not suitable for high power, so it is only suitable for small power requirements. So reaction turbines suitable for medium and higher power requirements. And the last one, that is blade manufacture. So manufacturing is difficult in case of impulse turbine. Reaction turbines, aerofoil type blades manufacture is difficult in case of reaction turbines. In impulse turbine it is not difficult. So these are the differences between the impulse and reaction turbines. Next we will see the velocity diagram of the impulse turbine for the moving blades. Here the figure shows the velocity diagram of a single stage impulse turbine. So we'll see one by one the parameters involved in it. So CBL first. We'll see. So here this is CBL, this is blade, okay, and CBL is nothing but linear velocity of moving blade. Not this is CBL. It is a linear velocity of moving blade in the direction left, in the left direction, meter per second. C1 is the absolute velocity of steam entering the moving blade. So this is C1 is entering the moving blade velocity, that is absolute velocity. C0 is absolute velocity of steam leaving moving blade. So that is a leaving velocity, absolute velocity of steam leaving the blades. Now here we'll see in the velocity diagram CW1, where it is CW1 is nothing but velocity of whirl at a entrance of moving blade. So it is called as a tangential component of C1. Tangential component of C1, that is CW1. Velocity of whirl at the entrance. CW0, here it is. So it is velocity of whirl at the exit of the moving blade. It is also tangential component of C0. Okay. CF1 is the velocity of flow at entrance of moving blade. It is axial component of C1. CF1 is axial component of C1, that is velocity of flow at entrance of moving blade. CF0 here, it is a velocity of flow at the exit of the moving blade. It is also axial component of C0. CR1, here it is CR1, it is a relative velocity of steam to moving blade at entrance. And also, once again I am repeating, relative velocity of steam to moving blade at entrance. Okay. Similarly, CR0, so will be relative velocity of steam to the moving blade. This is CR0 and this is C0. So CF0, CW0 are tangential and axial component of this C0, not CR0. So here CR1 is relative velocity of steam to the moving blade at entrance. Similarly, CR0 is relative velocity of steam to the moving blade at the exit. Okay, now angles we'll see. Alpha is the angle with the tangent of the wheel at which the steam with velocity C1 enters. It is also called as nozzle angle. It is a nozzle angle. Beta, here this is beta, angle which the discharging steam makes with the tangent of the wheel at the exit of moving blade. And theta will be entrance angle of the moving blade, and phi will be the exit angle of the moving blade. So these are the terminologies of these parameters. Here the steam jet issuing from the nozzle at a velocity C1, here the steam jet issuing from the nozzle from here C1 at a velocity C1 impinges on the blade at an angle alpha. The tangential component of this jet, that is CW1, performs work on the blade. The axial component CF1 does no work but causes the steam to flow through the turbine. As the blades moves with the tangential velocity CBL, the entering steam has a relative velocity CR1, which makes an angle theta with the wheel tangent. The steam then glides over the blade without any shock and discharges, in this direction the steam will flow and it will glide over the blade and discharges at a relative velocity of C0 at an angle phi with the tangent of the blades. The relative velocity at the CR1 is the same. Relative velocity at the CR1 is the same as the relative velocity at CR0 if there is no frictional loss. So both velocity will be same if there is no frictional loss between the blades and the steam. The absolute velocity C0 of the leaving steam make an angle beta to the tangent at the wheel. So to have the convenience in the solving the problems on turbine, it is a common practice to combine two vector velocity diagram. It is very much important that we should combine the two vector velocity diagrams on a common base which represents the blade velocity CBL. So here it is shown, that is the combined form of two velocity diagrams. This diagram has been obtained by superimposing the inlet velocity diagram on the outlet diagram in order that the blade velocity lines CBL coincide. Okay. So now this is a velocity diagram. Now here, see here, CBL is your steam jet velocity, that is linear velocity of the moving blade. CW, here CR0, C1, now here C1 is absolute velocity of the steam entering the moving blade. C0 will be absolute velocity at the exit. Likewise, all the terms it is here drawn. Now how to draw this velocity diagram we will see in the numerical. Okay. Now then we'll go for a work done on the blade. How to calculate work done on the blade? So from Newton's second law of motion, force if tangential on the wheel, that will be mass into acceleration. Mass of steam multiplied by acceleration. So mass of steam per second multiplied by change of velocity. Okay. So mass of steam is ms multiplied by tangential is there, so CW1 minus CW0, that is the change of velocity. Okay. Now value of CW0 is actually negative, as the steam is discharged in the opposite direction to the blade motion. Therefore, due consideration should be given to the fact that values of CW1 and CW0 are to be added while doing the solution of the problem, that is when beta will less than 90. Okay, at that time we need to consider CW1 and CW0. Now work done on the blades, that is force into distance. Work done is nothing but force into distance. Now force we have calculated, that is ms CW1 minus CW0 multiplied by distance travel, it is the relative that is velocity, relative velocity CBL. So now power per wheel will be m CWN plus CWL multiplied by CBL. If you want to convert into kilowatt, divide by 1000. Okay, so it will ms CW CBL divided by 1000. Here we are considering CW1 plus CW, that is CW. Okay, since CW equal to CW1 plus CW0. Now blade or diagram efficiency is calculated using the equation work done on the blade divided by energy supplied to the blade, that is output divided by input. Work done will, it is we have calculated here ms CW1 plus CW0 CPL divided by energy supplied to the blade, that is kinetic energy m C1 square by 2. Okay, so if we see here in figure, C1 is the kinetic energy that is coming on the blade. So equation becomes 2 CBL CW1 plus CW0 divided by C1 square. So that is nothing but blade, or it is also called as diagram efficiency. Now if H1 and H2 be the total heats before and after the expansion, suppose H1 and H2 are the total heats before and after the expansion through the nozzles, then H1 minus H2 is the heat drop through a stage of fixed blade rings and moving blade rings. Okay, so for that we need stage efficiency calculation, that is work done on the blade per kg of steam divided by total energy supplied per kg of steam. So we are discussing now that total energy supplied is nothing but H1 minus H2, that is the total heats before and after expansion through the nozzles. So that will be the total energy supplied per kg of steam. Okay, so CBL CW1 plus CW0 divided by H1 minus H2. Nozzle efficiency will be C1 square divided by 2 H1 minus H2, that we have already calculated in previous lectures. So efficiency of stage will be blade efficiency multiplied by nozzle efficiency. See the relation between the stage efficiency, blade efficiency and nozzle efficiency. Blade efficiency we have calculated, that is this 2 CBL Cw1 plus Cw0 divided by C1 square, and nozzle efficiency we have, that is C1 square by 2 H1 minus H2. So stage efficiency is coming by multiplying these both efficiencies, we are getting a stage efficiency, that is CBL Cw1 plus Cw0 upon H1 minus H2. So the axial thrust on the wheel is due to the difference between the velocities of flow at entrance and outlet. What is axial thrust? Difference between the velocities of flow at entrance and outlet. So axial force will be mass into mass of steam multiplied by axial acceleration. Axially, that is CF1 minus CF0, that change in velocity. MS CF1 minus CF, that will be the axial force on the wheel. So axial force on the wheel must be balanced or must be taken by the thrust bearing, by a thrust bearing. Okay. Now energy converted to heat by blade friction. Energy converted to heat. Now how energy is converted to heat? By blade friction. So due to the loss of kinetic energy during flow over the blades. So if there is friction is there, there will be the loss of kinetic energy. Okay. So the equation becomes then ms dot cr1 square minus cr0 square. We are already discussed. If no friction will be there, then cr relative velocity will be entering and leaving, both are same. So but if friction is there, you need to consider this equation ms cr1 square minus cr0 square. Okay. Now next parameter is the blade velocity coefficient. Now in an impulse turbine, if friction is neglected, the relative velocity will remain unchanged as it passes over the blades. We have already discussed that. No friction, then the relative velocity will be same. In practice, the flow of steam over the blades is resisted by friction. The effect of friction is to reduce the relative velocity of steam as it passes over the blades. In general, there is a loss of friction is about 10 to 15% in the velocity. Now owing to this friction, CR0 will be less than CR1. Of course, CR0 will be velocity of leaving the blade will always less than the entering blade. Okay, so CR0 equal to K CR1. K is termed as blade velocity coefficient. So K will be here CR0 divided by CR1. Okay, so that will be the blade velocity coefficient. Now advantages of and disadvantages of velocity compounded impulse turbine. So what are the advantages of velocity compounded impulse turbines? It requires small number of stages. I think this slide is we are already discussed in the previous lecture. It is by mistake it comes here. Okay, so we'll go for the numerical. A stage of a steam turbine is supplied with a steam at a pressure of a stage of a steam turbine is supplied with steam at a pressure of 50 bar and 350 degrees Celsius and exhaust at a pressure of 5 bar. The isentropic efficiency of the stage is 0.82 and the steam consumption is 20 to 70 kg per minute. So determine the power output of the stage. Now here the graph shows about the efficiency of blade to the CBL upon C1 ratio. Okay, so here single stage, 2 stage, 3 stage. See here how the variations are taking place with respect to these two parameters. Now given terms are steam supply pressure, that is P1 is given 50 bar and superheated steam is there, so 350 degrees Celsius. Exhaust pressure P2 is 5 bar. Isentropic efficiency is given, that is 0.82, and MS is given steam consumption, that is 2 2270 kg per minute, 2270 kg per minute. See your figure, this is saturation line, okay, and 350 degrees Celsius is superheated, so it will be coming in the superheated region with respect to 50 bar pressure. Okay, so expansion is taking place in the turbine up to 5 bar pressure, that is here, this is saturation line. This is theoretical expansion and this is actual expansion 2 dash. Okay, so from Mollier chart we need to calculate power output of the stage. The equation is ms h1 minus h2 dash. So we need to calculate plus h1 and h2 dash also. So h1 we easily find out from the Mollier diagram. H1 at a pressure of 50 bar and 350 degree, what will be the H1 value? That we are getting from Mollier diagram, HS diagram. H2 similarly here, H2 also we are getting. H2 we are getting at 5 bar pressure. So H1, H2 we are getting from Mollier chart. So isentropic heat drop we can easily calculate, that is H1 minus H2, and we are getting 490.7, that is the heat drop. This is a theoretical heat drop or isentropic heat drop. Now we need to calculate the actual heat drop, that is H1 minus H2 dash. Okay, how to calculate that? By using the stage efficiency we can calculate isentropic. H1 minus H2 dash divided by H1 minus H2. As efficiency is given 0.82, we can calculate easily H1 minus H2 dash as 402.4 kilojoule per kg. So that heat drop we are getting. So isentropic is 490 and actual is 402. So how much difference is there, you need to imagine. Now power developed will be ms h1 minus h2 dash. Ms is 2270, that is kg per minute is there. So we need to convert into second. So divide by 60, multiply by 402.4, it is coming 15224 kilowatt. So that much power is developed from this stage. Let's take one more example. In that we will draw an velocity diagram, and according to that we need to find out something. So in a D-level turbine, steam issues from the nozzle with a velocity of 1200 meter per second. So steam is leaving the nozzle with a velocity 1200, means it is C1 is 1200 meter per second. I'll show you. C1. Here, this is C1, which is coming from the nozzle at a velocity C1 on the blades. So C1 is 1200 meter per second. The nozzle angle is 20 degrees. So nozzle angle is nothing but alpha 20 degree. The mean blade velocity is 400 meter per second. Mean blade velocity means CBL 400 meter per second, and the inlet and outlet angles of blades are equal. So inlet and outlet blade angles of the blades, so that is theta and phi are both are same. Okay, so mass of steam flowing through the turbine per hour is 100,000 kg. So that is ms is 1000 kg per hour is given. So calculate blade angles, relative velocity of steam entering the blades, tangential force on the blades, power developed, and blade efficiency. Also they have given the blade velocity coefficient as 0.8. So K is given, that is 0.8. Also we need to write in our given terms. Okay, so these are the parameters are given. We need to calculate these 5 parameters. First we will go through the drawing the velocity diagram. Now here I have written, I have taken the procedure of the how to draw velocity diagram. Now select a suitable scale and draw line LM. First we need to draw the CBL here, LM. That is already given 1200 meter per second. Okay. Sorry, it is not C1, it is a CBL. So 400 meter per second is mean blade velocity, 400 is given. You need to take a suitable scale of it. Suppose if you are taking 1 centimeter equal to 100 meter per second, so LM will be 4 centimeter. Okay, that means it is a 400 meter per second. So at point L, alpha is making a 20 degree, okay, and cut the length LS up to here, that is 1200 meter per second. It is given 1200 meter per second. C1 is given 1200. So if you are taking the scale of 1 centimeter equal to 100, then C1 line, LS line will be of 12 centimeter. Okay, so this point we are getting 20 degrees given and this length is given. So we will easily find out this LS line. Okay, that is 1200 meter per second. Now join MS also. Now join this M and S. So you will get the CR1. Okay. Produce M to meet the perpendicular drawn from the S at P. So here you can draw this line M, from there draw up to P, and from P it is S, perpendicular line, you will get CF1. So CR1 and CF1 you can easily get from this velocity diagram. Now by measurement we can get the theta as 30 degree. CR1 we are getting 830 meter per second. By measuring by scale measure, it is coming, if you are taking 1 centimeter equal to 100 meter per second, then it is coming 8.30 centimeter. You can measure from your scale. And theta equal to phi equal to 30 degree. Theta equal to phi equal to 30 degree, because it is already given, both are same. Now CR2 equal to K CR1. We know that relative velocity K is nothing but CR2 divided by CR1. So 0.8 is K is given, multiply by 830. CR1 we have calculated from the velocity diagram, 830, multiply by 0.8, you will get the 664 meter per second as an CR1, or here we can call as CR0. Is it? Yes. So that is coming around 664 meter per second is 6.64 centimeter. You need to draw at a 30 degree angle, as theta and phi are same. So 30 degree angle from M, you can draw the CR0 as 664 meter per second, 6.64. Here it is written, at point M make an angle 30 degree phi and cut the MN to represent CR0, that is 664 meter per second. Join LN. Now this join, if you join the LN, you will get the C0. Produce L to meet perpendicular drawn from the N at Q. So similar, you will get the Q value also. Thus outlet triangle also completed. You will get all the values from the velocity diagram. Now we need to find out the actual parameters given. First calculation is blade angles. So blade angles we have calculated theta and phi as 30 degree from the velocity diagram. Now next is relative velocity of steam entering, that is CR1 we have calculated 830 meter per second. MS from this CR1 here, it is MS that we have calculated, it is coming 830 meter per second. Tangential force on the blades will be, the equation we know that, MS multiplied by CW1 plus CW0. So CW1 and CW0 we know that here PQ will be the CW, okay, and CW1 plus CW0 is already coming 1310 meter per second, means 13.10 centimeter. Okay, if you are taking scale of 1 centimeter equal to 100 meter per second. So we will substitute directly that 1310 meter per second here. MS we need to convert into second, that is kg per hour is given 1000, so divide by 3600, you will get 363.8 Newton as a tangential force on the blades. Next parameter is power developed P, which is MS CW plus CW into CBL. So 363.8 multiplied by CBL. CBL is, how much CBL is? 400 I think. Yes. CBL is 400 meter per second. So multiply by that, we are getting power as an 145.5 kilowatt. And the lastly, blade efficiency we need to calculate, and we have the equation 2 CBL CW1 plus CW0 upon C1 square. By substituting the values, we are getting 72.8% as an blade efficiency. Okay, so very easy problems are there, and it is very useful problems to find out the various parameters from velocity diagram itself. No need to go for complicated problems. Okay, so we'll stop here. We have covered almost 2-3 things in the lecture. We will continue with the same chapter in the next lecture. Thank you.